Hello, today you'll be learning prosthetics. We use prosthetics for wounds and fantasy makeup, or even just to change some of the facial features on our face for specific characters and situations. The two ways that we primarily in the theater create prosthetics is one with nose and scar wax. I have nose and scar wax from Ben Nye, which is what I really like. Or two with liquid latex. If you are allergic to latex, obviously this is not the way to go for you. They do make latexless free liquid latex, but you'll have to buy that at specialty stores. Today I will be showing you how to change the contour of your nose, how to make a scar, how to make little horns, and then various wounds and other abnormalities or deformities. A lot of this takes time, so this video might run a little long, especially since we're covering so much, but I will try to make it as quick as possible. Now, for any sort of prosthetic or wounds, it is really important to have that research. 3 to 5 images, really detailed, so that you know what look you're going for, and then a face chart that you have planned out your own look from those images. If you are working under someone else, so if you are a makeup technician working under a designer, they will have provided those for you. But if you are your own designer, you will want those before you sit down to get your makeup look. It's also good if you already have a list of things that you will need. So for example, on top of these two things that I just showed you, my nose wax and my liquid latex, I also have paper towels, which I'm going to use to create some really interesting effects. I've got the rest of my theatrical makeup. I also have some spirit gum and some spirit gum remover. Spirit gum is sort of a glue for the face. It's non-toxic, it's safe to use. And I'll be putting some things on with spirit gum. You can also use liquid latex as a glue, but I want to show you how both of those things work. So first things first, I'm going to alter just sort of the contour of my nose. I have been kneading my nose and scar wax for a little bit of time now. I do that to make sure it's really nice and malleable. If you're like me and you're always on the go and you leave your makeup kit in the car once it gets cool enough to do that and your stuff won't melt, it's important that you do take some time to really knead and mess with your nose and scar wax. If you take it straight from a cold environment and try to put it on your face, it's not going to stick, it's not going to mold well, and the way we warm it up is just by playing with it, sort of like Play-Doh. So I've been doing this for quite a while. My face is also prepped. If you have used moisturizer on your face, which you should be using before any makeup application, and especially if it is a really oily moisturizer, mostly those moisturizers for people with drier skin, you'll want to make sure that that has completely settled into your pores and that your face is not oily. If you do have any sort of oily substance on your face, the nose and scar wax will not stick appropriately. I was going to go off of a research image I found of a cute little pig nose. I was going to do a pig nose, but I don't think that I have the time, because this video might be a little long anyways, the time or the amount of nose and scar wax to create a pig nose and all the other things I want to do today. So instead, I'm actually just going to do a broken nose. If you look at Owen Wilson, the performer Owen Wilson, he's had a broken nose in his past that wasn't set correctly. So he does have a bit of a curvature to his nose. And that is something that's really, really simple to do with some nose and scar wax. So I've just taken a piece, and it's not a big piece. With nose and scar wax, this is a building up process. You don't want to lump a big thing on your face and then try to work with it. You do want to add it in small increments and then build up. You can always take away too. So here I've got my bit of putty, and I'm just going to put it on the bridge of my nose and sort of form it into a thick worm. Got a thick worm out of my putty. And I'm going to fix it to the bridge of my nose in sort of a curve. Once I have the placement where I want it, I need to feather the edges into my skin. This is so that it doesn't just look like something that you have slammed onto your face. It actually looks like it's part of your face that's just not following the same lines as your natural face does. So the way I do that is I take my fingers. Now, if you find that the putty is sticking to your fingers a lot and pulling up from your face because it's on your fingers, what you can do is take a little bit of your moisturizer, just dab it on your fingers, and then it doesn't need to be completely rubbed in because that's what's going to keep the nose and scar wax from sticking to your fingers. You don't want to get a lot, especially because you don't want to incorporate a lot of your moisturizer into the nose and scar wax. If you do, it will lose its consistency and it won't work as well. So just on your fingertips. I'm going in with a push, more of a press and move a little bit. Press and move a little bit. You don't want to start and go down. It'll rip the scar wax apart, and then you'll have to build it back up. So it's just tiny, tiny little increments. There we go. So I've already, you can see the curve of the broken nose, but it doesn't look like something I have just put onto my face because I feathered it out. Now, if I wanted to make that a little more dramatic, right, or if I wanted to build up my nose, say I wanted an equine, I think they call it, or equine nose. I don't know the right word for it, but the one that you see on like Grecian statues, right? That sort of goes from forehead straight down to the tip of the nose. It doesn't have sort of that dip in it like mine does. Let's say I wanted to make that, I could do that. And I would just add on to what I already have. So I'm taking my nose and scar wax, manipulating it, making sure it's all nice and squishy, rolling it into a fat worm, and then I'm just going to place it right on top of what I've already got. It's a little too long. go. Yeah, right about that there, but I'm going to flip it around. And I'm just going to use the little press and smudge to work it into the nose wax that I already have. Feather it out. I'm going to put a little more of that moisturizer on my fingers. Remember to be very delicate anytime you're working around your eye. You don't want to pull too hard on the little muscles. All right. Now we can start to do a little bit more just smoothing. I'm not pressing so hard anymore. So I'm not trying to shape or press it into anything. I'm just smoothing the surface with my fingers to make it look a little smoother. It's all part of one piece. The nose and scar wax I'm using currently is a little older, so it's a little more tacky, which is why I'm having a hard time with it sticking to my fingers. If you have nice new nose and scar wax, you won't have as many issues. All right. So this is looking pretty good. I would just want to smooth out some of these bumpy places on the ends just a little bit more. But for the most part, this is a pretty good nose. You can see the profile has changed. Okay, it looks like it's part of my face though, because I have feathered those edges out into sort of my inner cheek area, okay, and onto my nostrils. So the part that's there looks at one with my face. Now you can go through now that you have it and powder. Load your powder puff and just press it in. Try not to move it around too much. You'll risk destroying all that work that you put in. But powder it, and then you can do your makeup on top of it, just like the makeup for the rest of your face. You do want to powder it first, though, otherwise it'll take the makeup a little differently. That is also true for liquid latex. Now, I don't suggest doing a lot of really heavy wax work on places of your face that are going to move a lot. I wouldn't do wax around my mouth, for example. It just won't stick to the parts of your face that are really dynamic because they move around so much, and the wax itself is not flexible. That is what we use liquid latex for. But the wax is nice for those parts of your face that really don't move, like your nose, your forehead, along your cheek areas, all of those places, and then of course on your hands and arms. Making scars with nose and scar wax is super simple. You follow the same general thing that we did for our nose, but just make it into whatever little scar you want. So if I want to do a little scar, maybe right above my eyebrow right here, I would just take my nose and scar wax, make sure it's nice and malleable by kneading it with my fingers, and then just place it where I want it, and using those press and smudge motions, start incorporating the edges with my skin. And feathering those out until you can't tell really where the wax starts. And there you go, a nice, easy, sort of bubbly up scar. Generally, the bubbly up scars you reserve for places that have undergone like immense trauma, or where their trauma has gone deep into a meaty, fatty part of you. The bubble scar I wouldn't necessarily do for my face, at least not this big, but it is the idea is the same no matter where you put it. Okay, so now I have that scar, again, powder, makeup over it, and you're good to go. Now, nose and scar wax is relatively heavy. If you want to do something big, like let's say we were going off of Disney's Quasimodo. Quasimodo has this big sort of protuberance of his eyebrow that goes over one of his eyes, and it starts up on his forehead, and then it sinks down and actually hangs over the top lid of one of his eyes. You would not want to try to recreate that with nose and scar wax for two reasons. One, your eyebrows are really dynamic. So if you're going to do a big piece on your eyes, it's not going to stick. Like this is a small piece, so it'll stick just fine with me moving my eyebrows around. But even just doing this, I can feel it pulling on my nose, where I put the wax sort of up on my forehead. I can feel it pulling on my nose. So you don't want to put it there just because that part of your face is a really dynamic part of your face and will move and will make it come off. But two, it's really heavy. Now gravity is going to work on it and pull it down and also start to pull it from your face. So if you are in a show that runs for 2 hours, you run the risk of actually having it disconnect from your face, and you don't want that. Instead, you're going to build up using liquid latex. And some cotton balls or cotton batting. I have with me today cotton balls, which I'll be using for my next look. What you can do though, before we finish up with the putty, is do small little fun protuberances. So just like the scar, I'm going to put like a little horn. I'll have like a little horn coming out of my cheek. So I'm going to shape it into my little horn shape, whatever shape that is. And again, this is where your research or your facial chart would come in handy. So there we go. I have a little curved horn. Okay. And I just want it to come out of like right here. So I'm going to press it against my face. And do the press and smudge method. Now, this would be for a very short-term look. Remember, I said don't put a big chunk on your face all at once, which is exactly what I just did. And that's because you don't get as good of a connection. Like I cannot press the wax that's at the base of this horn, at the center of the base of this horn, into my face because there's this big horn on it. So I'm just going around the outside doing it. This would be for very short I couldn't wear this for very long because gravity would start to pull it down and disconnect it from my face. Getting some more of my moisturizer. And there we go. I have a little horn sticking out of my face. I have a horn, I have a nose, and I have a scar. Now, obviously, you can branch out and do a lot more with nose and scar wax. This is what I'm doing with it today. And again, powder over it really good. Press the powder in without shifting where you've put your wax, and then put your foundations and stuff over the top. I'm going to actually take these off my face without putting makeup on it. Once you put makeup on it, I'm not saying that you cannot reuse your nose and scar wax once it has makeup on it. It will change the consistency because you'll have to work the makeup into the wax before you use it the next time. It will start to lose its sticky qualities depending on what makeup you've used. But you can, in fact, reuse your nose and scar wax up until the point where it just won't stick anymore. So there is that. I want to keep mine more usable than not, so I am going to take it off my face because we are about to move on to the liquid latex portion. Oh, one more thing I wanted to show you with the nose and scar wax. Is how to make it into a cut. So instead of it being a scar, it's actually a cut. Now for this one, I am going to put makeup on it. I'm going to take, though, this off. And my nose. Although this is a good look for me. I will go with that for a future project probably. You can see I just took it off. Not hard to get off. You can also use it to pick up other parts that are still stuck on your face in a dabbing motion. Okay. Actually, I'm not going to use this one because it's on the opposite side of my face than the camera. I'm going to put something over here, probably on my cheek. And we'll make a cut and we'll put makeup on it and you'll see how to do a wound. Now this is a cut wound. Different wounds require different things. So burn wounds, cuts, bruises, everything sort of requires its own. And you will use your research primarily and then your face chart in order to know exactly what your wound is supposed to look like. I'm going to do a full-on cut right now. So I'm taking a bit of my I'm making a nice fat worm. And I'm just going to put it on my cheek. Pressing it in. Now for this one, it's a cut, so it's supposed to be in my actual face. So I don't want a big, huge lump right there, not like with a bubble scar. I am smooching it down quite a bit. You can see I'm using sort of a rolling method to make it go out along my cheek. This will be a nice long cut, which will be good for you to be able to see what we're working with. All right. Ooh, I'm getting it up into my hair. You can see I'm holding the rest of the wax in place while I smooth it out on any given part. This is so I don't inadvertently like rip it off of my face, because I've done that before. And then getting it back on is always a treat. All right, so I've got it. It's a little further off my face than I would like. And you can mitigate that with just putting less scar wax on your face. But this is going to be a pretty deep cut, so it would make sense that the sides of the skin would have pulled back and out a little bit. I think it'll be okay. So after you have your scar wax on your face, you will powder it, which is what I'm about to do. I did not mise en place my workstation today. I had intended to teach this lesson live, but none of my students showed. So. It's always better, though, to mise en place your workstation. As a review, mise en place just means to put in place. It's a culinary term, meaning to get all of your stuff together in an organized way. And I have really organized makeup trays already, so I can just put out a tray when I need it. But if you don't have really organized makeup trays in your makeup kit, then you will definitely want to mise en place your system, or mise en place your area by putting everything out, knowing where everything goes. So I have loaded my powder puff by putting the powder on the puff and then squeezing it together. Okay, and I'm just going to press it into my wax. Okay. And now I can go in with my foundation. It's a new sponge day. How exciting. So I'm going to go in with my foundation, and I'm not going to pull on the wax I just did. That will cause it to lift from my face. So I'm just going to press. And I'm going to bring that foundation down into my face. And up above. There we go. Okay. So the foundation is on. I'm going to powder again. Loading my powder puff. Okay, now's the fun part. Now's where we get to actually start creating this look. Now, I am going to bring up a picture of a deep cut. It's always better to use primary sources and images. Your brain can tell you lies. It can be like, oh yeah, no, this is totally what it looks like. And then you finish and you're like, I don't know if that's what that looks like. And you look up images and you're like, oh no, that's not what that looks like. But your brain's like, well, I thought it was. So I'm just researching on Google deep cuts. Now, if you are squeamish about this sort of thing, do looks that don't require you to look at gross images, because it is important to get primary images, meaning pictures of real wounds. So if you are squeamish and you're doing this just for fun, look up like bruises or shallow cuts or things like that to recreate. I personally am fine looking at most images, not all, but most. I will not be showing you the images that I pull. But let's see. Most of these are giving me cuts on arms. I'm going to say deep cuts to face and see what that happens, what that gives us. All right. Oof. Oof. This guy looks like he's had a bad day. Okay. So we will go with that one. Yikes. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I have my eyelash and eyebrow brush and comb, but you'll notice on the other side, it's very thin. If you don't have one of these, a plastic butter knife works really well. Anything with like a thin, flat area to work with, like that's on the end of it. I'm going to take this, and looking at that poor gentleman, I'm going to start up here, and I actually placed this perfectly for this image. And I'm just going to make a slice, and I placed this perfectly. Almost like I planned it. I didn't. So I have this nice deep gouge in my face, and the edges of his did pull away. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to pull away the edges and make a gap as it gets down onto my cheek. There we go. There we go. All right. Now, this gentleman's skin tone and my skin tone look different. He has a much darker skin tone than I do, so I cannot use the colors that are exhibited in this photograph specifically, because it will look strange on my face and body. But what I can do is look up other images of abrasions and cuts on people with my skin tone, and then use that information to help me create this look that just this gentleman has on myself. already have a pretty good understanding of what my skin tone looks like with bruises and abrasions, because I've been doing this a long time. So I'm not going to go and do that. But if you don't, then that would be something helpful for you to do. So let me get out some brushes, my different colors, so I'm not mixing them. All right. So he's got a bunch of redness around the wound itself. I'm guessing this isn't like super, super fresh. It's probably at least a few hours old because he's already got, oh, this is a new brush. Don't want to break that in. Not yet. I have other brushes as well. There we go. This has been at least a couple of hours time to give the area around the wound time to sort of take that trauma out of just the cut and expand it up and out into the rest of the face. So again, it's all in layering, and you're going to look at your image and you're going to look at what you're doing on your face. And you're going to look at your image and look at what you're doing on your face. So I'm going to go in with, I believe this is Dusty Rose. I'm going to go in with this Dusty Rose color. This is from the Cream Contour Wheel from Ben Nye. And I'm going to start placing it around, oh, and it's lifting away from my eye. Just go back in. What happens when you do it on a dynamic part of your face, but sometimes it can't be helped. I'm going to go in on the sides of the cut with my brush. All the way around. And then I'm going to use my sponge to blend that out into the foundation. Again, do not press really hard and pull. You will lift the wax up off your face. So it's very light, very light. Bring it. This is where, well, I'll add a trigger warning to the beginning of the video, I guess, that I will be recreating a wound. If you get squeamish, this is the part to, I mean, you came here to learn how to do this, so stick around if you can. If you get too squeamish, this is the part where you go away, I guess. I did close up that puckering I made just now. Open that back. There we go. There we go. And I'm also just going to put a bit of this up into the places that don't have the wax on them, just to further fool the eye into thinking I don't have a big block of wax on my face. His in this picture doesn't come down nearly as far as what I'm doing. So this is where you take a little bit of that creative license. Oh. All right, that's already starting to look a little. All right. It looks like we've started some deeper bruising right sort of around this part of the cut on him. So I'm going to go in with Natural Lip Color, which is a bit deeper than our Dusty Rose. I'm going to start those little bits of bruising. Now, bruises, they start out not as bruises, they start out as big red marks, right? And then over time they become bruises. So it goes from reds, and then we get into the purples, and depending on how deep the bruise is and how traumatic the experience was on that piece of skin, it might go into even like some browns and blacks. I was in a car accident and I had the deepest, blackest bruise I've ever seen in my life where the seatbelt was across my chest. It was black. It was very deep. And then as the bruise starts to heal, the blood that was released, because bruises are when your blood vessels break and blood is no longer kept within the little tubes it's supposed to be in, and it just floods the area around it. That's what a bruise is. So we start with a big red place, that first flush of blood from those broken vessels. And then as that blood ages, it can turn the purple colors, the bluish colors into the dark browns and into the black colors. And then as it starts to heal, that's when it starts, the body starts getting rid of that excess blood, that dead blood. Because once it's not in your veins anymore, it sort of dies. That's why it becomes like greens and colors like that. But it starts soaking the blood, that dead, not usable blood, back into the veins and stuff, and then gets rid of it through the body. So that's when you get your greens, the green tints, and then they work its way into sort of yellow tints for most people, and then it goes away. So this is a very fresh bruise. It hasn't had a chance to turn purple yet. So we are just looking at that deep sort of purple. It's still looking very reds and red purples. So I'm just going to go in with like I said, my natural color, and go in and add some layers to up here, along my temple and into my hairline. And then I am going to go in with just a tad little bit of the purple to mix with it. So I'm cleaning off my brush. And going in with just a tad bit of the purple. You can see how dark that is already, so I don't want a whole lot of it. Okay. By the way, that color is, it doesn't say, but it's the deep dark color on the bruise and abrasion as well. I'm also going to come in with this red brown on the bruise and abrasion as well. And a little bit of that in there. Again, not a whole lot. This hasn't gotten time to really get into those deep dark colors. And this is very light, very light feather touches. We don't want to move that wax. All right, bringing some of that pink down into my cheek. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right, so what we're going to do now is go into the cut itself. Now, this gentleman, it's like I said, it's not a super fresh cut. It's not all just the bright red blood, although it does seem to have opened up again recently because you do see a little bit of drippage happening. Again, I apologize. Trigger warning, gross. But the edges of the wound have started to get that deep, dried blood look to them. So I'm going in with this on the bruises and abrasions wheel, the red brown that I put sort of up in here. I'm going to take that and just right on the edge of my cut that I've made, I'm going to brush that on. Had a little errant brush stroke there, but I actually kind of like it. Happy accidents, am I right? Get a little Bob Ross in our day. Happy accidents. All right, so there's the edges of my wound. And I'm going to clean my brush off and I'm going to feather those out just a little bit so that it doesn't just look like lines. I'm going to take my brush and just really lightly bring that color out. Clean it off some more now that it's got a little bit of that accumulated on it. Another errant brush stroke. I'm going to use it. Get a little bit more trauma up in here. All right, so there's the edges. And then, like I said, it does look like it's opened up a little bit there on the inside for that dude. So I'm going to take the bright red, the red from the Bruises and Abrasions wheel, and I'm actually going to go inside. There we go. That's looking pretty gnarly. Yeah. Something you can do if you want a really deep wound, but you don't want to have to build up that much wax on your face and figure out how you're going to make it not look like you have a big lump of wax on your face, is add shadowing. So I'm going to go in with the purple of the bruise wheel again, because this gentleman's cut is very deep. So I'm going to go in with the purple of the bruise wheel again, and I'm just going to put some shadowing, especially under this upper. And that's just going to make it look really deep. All right. Now, this is optional. You don't have to include it, but it is rather fun. We have our Midnight Dark Blood stage blood. So we go in. You will want to definitely wash your brushes really well after using this. You can see it's gooey. So you can go in with that, and it gives it some shine. If we wanted to go full on gore, we could add some drips coming down. I'll go ahead and do that. I'll show you the It's better to just let it drip down naturally so that you get what it would actually look like. So I'm not going to actually paint a drip. I'm just going to put a large amount of it right here and then let it, oh, there you go, drip down on its own. Trying to create a second drip. I must have a big pocket behind the scar wax that needs to fill up with blood first before it'll drip down. There we go. That'll drip. Oh, that'll drip a lot. All right, so there we go. Oh no, too much drip. Too much drip. All right. So there we have it. Although I'm pretty sure if there was this deep of a cut, if it was a fresh cut, if we had done it as a fresh cut and didn't add in all those deeper tones to it, there would be much more blood in this, I'm assuming. So keep that in mind too. There's no blood dripping on that. Like not like this anyways on that picture, but artistic license. So this is how you use nose and scar wax to create an open wound along with some makeup. I am going to clean my brush and I'll be right back. Hi, I'm back. I thought about washing this off my face, but it's actually kind of cool and I think I might use it for a project that I'm doing later. So I'm just going to add some more stuff probably on this side. I do have clean brushes though, and I've mise en place to my next thing. So something else that you can really use for this sort of project, building things fantasy, sci-fi, wounds, liquid latex. Liquid latex is nice, especially if you want to create something that you will use again later. I am using this big Walmart version liquid latex for this project. I do have my nice midnight liquid latex. but I don't know how much I'm going to be using, and so I don't want to use my nice stuff for something like this where it's through a camera. You can't really see the definition of the details anyways. So this liquid latex, it's right after Halloween right now during the filming of this video. That is the perfect time to go see if Walmart or any of the other places have any liquid latex left, because it'll probably be on sale because it's after, like I said, the holiday itself. I'm taking just one of my lids from one of my Ben Nye makeup pots, and I'm going to pour some of my liquid latex into it so that I can then cap my bottle again so I don't dry out my big thing of. Any that dries in the cap, I can easily peel away. That's the nice thing about liquid latex, is it peels off of hard surfaces. Now, if you get it enclosed, that's a whole other story. I have yet to find anything that I really like for getting liquid latex out of. All right, so what I'm going to do for this particular look is I have some cotton balls, okay? And I've got this Q-tip, which I'm going to use to put the liquid latex on my face. You can use a brush, but it either has to be a brush that you don't mind getting rid of at the end of your project, or one that you're willing to sit and clean out for a very long time with the spirit gum remover, which will also remove. But it is an arduous process. I'm just going to use a Q-tip. So if you want to reuse this prosthetic that you are about to create, which, by the way, using liquid latex and cotton balls is a great way to make those big, like if we were going to do the Quasimodo hanging over sort of eyebrow, that would be perfect to use for that. Because cotton balls are really light, liquid latex is really light, and then you're not going to have to worry about it like slowly falling down your face. If you want to reuse your prosthetic that you create, which why wouldn't you? Especially if this is like for the run of a show, you don't want to sit and do this, hour and a half long application every night. That would be horrible. So if you want to create a prosthetic that you can reuse, that you can take off and then put back on, and take off and put back on, what you do want to do is make a nice thick foundation of liquid latex before you even start applying your cotton ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do sort of a burn effect. Okay, I have a cut on this cheek. I'm going to do a burn effect on this cheek. The cotton balls tend to give a really uneven surface. It tends to be kind of lumpy, so it works well for burns. This is also for wounds. So yeah, I'm just putting the latex. I'm just going to do it on this cheek. I'll cut on that cheek and a burn on this cheek. And man, this character's had a bad day. You do have to wait for the latex to dry in between applications. So it does take a while. I will probably speed up. You know what? I'm going to be doing 2 looks at once just so that I can cut down on time. I'm also going to be, I'll show you how to use paper towel to create really fun textures on your face. So like I did a makeup look for Daphne from Greek mythology, Daphne turning into the tree. So she was part girl and part tree, and that was a really cool makeup look. I'm going to go ahead and recreate part of that makeup look today. And I'm just going to do it sort of to my forehead area. So I'm just going to go ahead and put down a nice layer of latex on my forehead, and then I can have them both drying at the same time. For the Daphne turning into a tree look, This is not one that I personally would make into a prosthetic to use over and over again because it is not that hard or time consuming to do. So I'm only going to do a couple of layers of the latex um, on that one before I start actually applying my paper towels. For this one too, just to cut down on time, and because I'm not planning on using this prosthetic over, I would have no reason to. I'm not going to do a lot of layers, but like I said, if you want to reuse your prosthetic, I would say at least 5 layers of the liquid latex on your face before you even start applying the balls. You can see as the liquid latex dries, it turns clear. So if you're like, ooh, I don't know if it's dry enough, when it's clear, it's dry. So that's a good way to know. Okay, that's basically dry. So I'm just gonna do that one layer down on my face. Keep in mind, if you are doing anything over your eyebrows, glue, stick those suckers down. Make sure that none of the latex actually comes into contact with the hair itself, otherwise you'll be giving yourself a free wax. And that's no fun for anyone. So, I'm gonna go ahead and take my cotton ball and sort of rip it up. Okay, so it's now a nice fluffy cloud. I'm going to put another layer of latex down. Oh no, I got latex on my shirt. Oh well, it's on the part that's been printed on, so I should be able to get it off. This is why you wear clothes that you're okay getting makeup on. All right, I'm then going to put this cotton ball directly onto the latex. The latex is going to serve as glue. Great. Now, unless I want to be a cloud person, I need to cover this whole cotton ball situation with latex. When you do, it's going to compact the cotton and it's going to bring it closer to your face. So if you want to build out like that Quasimodo eyebrow, okay, it's going to take a lot of layer of cotton balls to do, but that's okay. Generally, things worth doing take time. So I'm just slathering on the latex using my Q-tip. And like I said, I'm using this for a big sort of burn, puckery, blistery thing. So I'm okay with the fact that it is really uneven and not smooth. If you do want to build out something that's smooth, do take the time when you're doing this to make your cotton sort of a good single layer. That's what's also really nice about cotton batting, because it already comes in strips in those nice layers. You want to get yourself some cotton batting, that works too. I generally just take the time to, if I want to, I just take the time to make sure my cotton balls are stretched out a uniform thickness before I apply them. All right, so this does take a few layers of the latex because the cotton ball is going to soak up the latex, and we don't want that. We want the latex to be sitting on the surface of the cotton ball, and so it does take quite a few layers. I tend to not let them dry all the way in between. Once I put on my cotton ball, it just takes less time, and you get a nice thick buildup right away. It does, though, mean that you do have to take a little bit more time at the end to let all those layers, all that latex, dry. So I've got my first major layer of the latex on. Okay. This would be a good look, probably not this dramatic, because I do have the cotton balls coming off my face at probably at least half an inch high, which is a bit dramatic. But would be a good way to do a look for like Phantom of the Opera, right? The part of the Phantom's face under his mask that eventually gets revealed. This would be good for that. As I'm going through and there's more and more latex being added, it's soaking through more and more of the cotton ball, and then making that squish. There's not as much air because it's wet. So it is, I'm pressing it down to my face purposely using pressure, along with that less air and soaking the cotton ball, just so I can bring it down a little bit, make it not so dramatic of a look. All told, this is probably my third or fourth layer of liquid latex. Like I said, I'm not waiting for it to dry in between. I am bringing the latex out from the cotton ball 2 onto my face that doesn't have it on there. because you do, again, just like with the wax, you want it to blend into your face. Not like, oh, this is something I slapped right on the surface. You want it to look a part of your face. So I am taking the latex from the prosthetic that I'm making and bringing it out into the area around it. Except for where I want there to be a bubble. So I am using this to do sort of a burned, bubbly skin look. Okay, while I wait for that to dry, I need to pour more liquid latex. And I'm going to do the Daphne turning into a tree on my forehead. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking paper towel. This is paper towel that I got out of the bathroom. Now, while you do not want to use paper towel to take your makeup off or to rub your face in any way, because it's literally tiny, tiny slivers of wood put together, and you're going to get those tiny, tiny little slivers pieces, those tiny, tiny little slivers in your face, and your face is not going to like it. We can place the paper towel over our face. Now, we can do this for other things like other burns, right, where the skin is actually broken open. Things like that. But we can also use it to make this really fun texture just for different things. And really, the world is your oyster. Use your imaginations. There's hardly anything stopping from whatever you want to do with the actual makeup, which is what's really lovely about it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rip around all of the outside. I don't want any nice straight cut edges with my paper towel because that will not blend into my face well. I want rough edges that will feather into my skin texture a little more. All right, so I've ripped all the way around and I have this piece. I'm going to do like half my forehead that way, and I'm going to start by just doing another layer of the liquid latex. Ooh, do not get in my eyebrow. I did not prepare for eyebrow or hairline. There we go. Nice thick layer though, because you do want the paper towel to stick to it. Okay. And then I'm going to take one edge of my paper towel and stick on, and then I want this to look like bark. Bark tends to have a lot of texture going up in one direction, up and down the tree. So I'm going to just take and sort of pleat it going up my forehead. Just like that. Okay. I'm then going to rip off the part of the paper towel I don't need. There we go. And now I'm already have this great sort of bark texture on my forehead. Now, if I had glued over my eyebrow, I would then add more liquid latex and bring this part of the bark down over the eyebrow and incorporate it down lower on my face, but I didn't, and I'm not going to. Same thing for the hairline. If you get a bald cap, you can put the bald cap on. If you pull your hair back really tight, if you have long hair, or gel it down. If you have short hair, and then use a lot of glue stick over it, then you can go ahead and liquid latex this down at your hairline. I don't have either of those things, so I'm not going to do that. But I am going to use the liquid latex to put the sides of my paper towel to glue them down to my. No dripping into the eyebrow. No dripping. Same thing on this side. Right. And then I'm actually going to go over the sides with the liquid latex to, just like I said, incorporate that a little more. I'll go ahead and go down between my eyebrows. If there's any hair there, I want it waxed off anyways, personally. I'm no Frida Kahlo, not Rocky Unibrow. All right, so and then like there's pieces that stick out further than other pieces that like, I'm just gonna use the liquid latex to sort of bring those down too, incorporate them into the fold. And now I'm going over with just some liquid latex all over it, just to make sure that it all has the same texture and consistency, so that when I put makeup on it, it'll be nice and neat. There we go, and I'll let that dry. Now, this could totally stand for a couple of more layers of the liquid latex. That would be beneficial. But again, I kind of want to save time for this video, so I'm going to just be really careful when putting on the makeup. It's also not completely dry, so you always want to make sure things are completely dry. I'm just running out of time for the video, so I'm cheating. Don't cheat. Yours will look way better than mine if you don't cheat. So again, I don't want to force anything. I don't want to move it around too much. So when I'm putting on my foundation, it's more of a dab than anything. Ooh, you can already see some really awesome texture coming through. I'm taking that foundation and bringing it down onto my face. You don't want to pre-foundation anywhere that you're putting these prosthetics. It'll just make it so that it doesn't stick to you as well. All right, I've got a lot of really great. Oop, yep. That is also what happens. So it just pulled off a little bit of my sponge. Little bit of my sponge is now incorporated into that makeup look because that was a place that hadn't dried enough yet for even this slight little bit of makeup manipulation. So the latex grabbed onto my sponge and kept part of it. This is why you want to make sure it's dry. All right, so it looks like that's as good as I'm going to get with my makeup sponge. Because I've got all this really lovely texture in there, my foundation's not able to get in there. So I'm going to take my makeup brush and use that to sort of fill in the majority of the holes. Again, this is really light. Sorry about that. This is really light. Light brush strokes. All right, most of the big holes have been covered at this point with makeup. So that's pretty good. So I've done a lot of burns for makeup. So I already know pretty much what I'm going to go for here, but I'm still going to look up, I'm going to say 3rd degree burns. Again, if you're squeamish, maybe don't do this makeup look. Okay, so I don't want to do a right away burn. I want to do a couple of days later burn. Ooh. Okay. All right. So, every time I do research for these, I'm just like, oh, these poor people. What in the world? What happened? Why? So the first thing I'm going to do is go in again with my Dusty Rose, okay, and just sort of make this whole area pink. And because this is a rather large area, I'm just going to go ahead and put it right on my sponge and not do the brush first. So I'm going to make a lot of this area, especially around the burn, like up on my face, pink, because that looks like that's pretty much what happens. You get your 3rd degree burn in the middle, and then you get you know, your seconds and firsts out from there. So it's sort of all around my face. I'm going to bring it down. And I am going to take and bring it onto it, the piece itself. And do change up the consistency. You can see I'm putting a little more here, a little more here. Okay, so do change it up. Don't make it super uniform. Very little in nature that happens naturally. So have places where it's a lot more burn than other places. There we go. That's looking gnarly. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put some more on it. And I can't get into all of the texture, which is fine because there's a lot of really light places left on these burns too, where the skin is almost white. Now this is on Caucasian skin. This picture is on pretty much my skin tone, but there are places in this burn that are almost white. So I think leaving some of this open is going to be okay. I'm then going to come in with the brown, the cinnamon color. It's on my cream contour wheel, not the red brown that's on my Bruises, this brown. And I'm going to work it in some of the crevices. Okay, I'm not going to put any on the parts of the cotton ball that have come out because those parts are going to be the blisters, right? The water blisters. And so I'm not putting any of the dark colors on them because I'm going to go back in with that yellow. I'm going to go in with some white to lighten them up and then go in with that yellow to make those blisters. I'm keeping away from the high points of my prosthetic and just going in on the low points to do this darker. I'm going to use my sponge to blend that a little bit. Cool. Now I'm going to go in with that red brown on my bruise and abrasions and sort of hit some areas with that. And I am going to go up sort of into off my prosthetic up into my face a little bit, just to again make it seem like it's part of my skin and not something that I've put over the top of it. So in those places that you have gone and done a little extra burnage, you can add some of this there too. You'll notice I'm not making lines, I'm pressing, I'm dabbing. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay. Now this looks like it is a really bad 3rd-degree burn, the picture that I used. I'm going to go in with my sponge, blend, just dab, dab, blend. Okay. And there are some charcoal parts to that. So around the very center of my deepest holes, because my deepest holes I'm actually going to put bright red in and some blood. But right around the edges of my deepest holes, I'm going to go in with this black color, and just char the edges of those. All right, and in the centers, I'm going to do a little bit of black, not a lot though. Go in with my red brown from my Bruise contour wheel. Okay. And the bright red from my Bruise contour wheel. Clean off my brush. Huh. The shape that made is not one I would have purposely gone for, where it looks like there's like an X, but who knows? Maybe it's a brand. Ooh, there's an idea. It was a brand branded in. I'm gonna carry it over into one of the things of the X, just so that it's not quite so X-y. Well, it's still X-y. So then I have my deep darks. Now the blood I'm going to do absolutely last. I'm not going to do the blood right now. I am, however, going to go in with a bit of my foundation. And on the very, very tops where it's super lumpy, so like here's a big lump, here's a big lump, sort of right in here is a bit lumpy. I'm going to put my foundation because I want it to be light. I'm going to put the yellow on top. So I'm just going to put a bit of the foundation just on those areas to make them lighter than the other areas. These are my blisters. Okay. And then with my yellow, I'm going to go right on top of that. And dab, dab, blend. There we go. Now that, my friends, is a gnarly burn. Now, if I had time, I would zhuzh it up a little bit. Like I said, I do not love that there's like a X going through. Unless you were going to use this for a really specific reason, right? Like they were branded, or a specific superhero that might have this sort of scarification or burn happening, anything like that. Otherwise, things that we recognize like X's, stars, triangles, things like that. Circles actually do exist a lot in nature, but anything, you know, sort of like this looks like an S, or like like a, I don't know, like a railroad sign almost, right? It doesn't really occur often in nature, especially something as chaotic as a burn. So you want to stay away from that as much as possible. For this up here, my latex is down, we're good. I can powder it. And then I would just do a little bit of highlight and shadowing. I'll do that really, really fast. There you go. For the highlight and shadow, and I am going to make this a little more my skin tone, so I'm going to go in with my sponge and dab, twist, dab, twist. Now, if I was really going to be the tree, I would want to go in and do my whole face with tree color instead. But right now, I'm just making this. All right, and I can't get into all the little crevices, but that's okay. I don't really want to. I'm going to take my brown, my cinnamon. Okay. Ooh, did not realize that was the unclean brush. It's fixable. What's nice in stage makeup. We're not brain surgeons and we're not rocket scientists. If we do make a mistake, nobody's going to die. All right. So, and I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to go right into where those bits of texture happened, and I'm going to pump them up. This is going to really make the bark-like texture stand out. There we go. We're already starting to get some bark-like texture happening. I'm going to take my my sponge and I'm just going to sort of smudge all of that together so you can't tell if there's any brush stroke lines. Don't want brush stroke lines. Okay, so just like that. And then I'm going to go back in with the black and really hype up those deep, deep shadows. Anytime you can do at least 3 colors in a piece, that's good because it just gives more dimension. So in those deep shadows, I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of black. And there we go. Now we're getting some really, really nice bark texture happening. Something you can also do is take that over into your actual face by doing, if you've seen like the wood graining on wood, right? Where it still all goes one direction, but you can sort of bring it down into curves like wood graining does. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up wood graining. It's really pretty. Oh, now I'm blending in with my cut. So that's definitely something you can do to incorporate the look into your actual skin on your face. I hope that this has been beneficial for you. I hope that you've learned a lot. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I look forward to seeing what awesome creations you can do. Really, the sky is the limit. You can also make your own little prosthetic pieces. You can use sequins. You can use found objects. You can do all sorts of things and then make them into prosthetics using your scar wax, using your liquid latex. And then it's really easy if I wanted to attach something to my face with spirit gum, which I don't see anything that I want to attach to my face with spirit gum right now. But to dab a little bit of spirit gum on there and pop a sequin on, a little bit of spirit gum and pop a stick or whatever you want to do. Spirit gum is really nice. Make sure when you're taking all this off, you don't have to for the wax, the nose and scar wax, because that's a really easy on and off thing. But make sure you are using spirit gum remover for the liquid latex, otherwise you will hurt you and you will be sad about it. I look forward to seeing what you create. If you have any questions, please let me know. Bye.